Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a journal update and a flip through. I will link my first journal video down below. I basically filmed the whole process of me starting this journal and just kind of talking about what I wanted this journal to be and stuff, so make sure you go watch that video first. I'm also going to link my recent stationery haul if you want even more journal related videos. I'm first just going to talk about my journal a little bit and just let you guys know how it's going and everything, and then I will do flip through and show you guys everything that I use and how I do my journal. I started my journal at the end of September and I still love my journal. I'm obsessed with it. I have used quite a bit of it already and I really love it. I would say I have a pretty bad memory, especially when it comes to books and like remembering what books are about. And starting a reading journal has been one of the best things I have ever done. It has helped me so much. I feel like I can remember things better. I feel like it is easier for me to film wrap-ups and talk about certain books because I actually remember, because I'm writing down all of my thoughts and opinions about every book I read. So far, I haven't fallen off with it. Like, I have kept up with it. I've done every single entry after I finish a book. There was one night where I was a little lazy and it was kind of late, so I was like, I'll write my entry tomorrow, and I almost forgot. But I remembered and I wrote everything down and it's good. This is also not a bullet journal. This is a full-blown journal where I write all of my thoughts, all of my opinions, and literally everything that happens in a book that I want to remember, I write it down. So I have like pages and pages of notes. So there is a lot in this journal that I can't really show you because it is technically spoilers for books. I'm going to do my best to try to hide some of the entries and stuff, but I do want to give you guys an idea of like what my journal looks like and stuff. In my first journal video, I talked a lot about how I knew this journal would not be perfect and I knew that I would learn and figure things out along the way, and I would say that I finally have figured out how I want my journal to look and how I want each spread and entry to be. It took me a good couple of entries to figure that out. You'll see, I'll kind of show you guys. That is my biggest advice or my biggest tip when you're starting a journal, like any kind of journal. It's not going to be perfect at first and you can't expect it to be. You're going to figure out as you use it and how you want it to look and like how you want to do things. And there are definitely things that I screwed up in here that I'm already thinking about for my next journal, and I'm like, I want to fix that in my next one. For me, when I see like reading journals on YouTube, a lot of it is bullet point and a lot of it is just like bullet reading journals, which is fine, but that was not what I wanted for my reading journal. I felt a little discouraged when I first started this journal because I was like, oh, am I supposed to make it artsy? Am I supposed to do like pages every month where I like write down my TBR? I thought there was like a very specific way that you're supposed to do a journal, and it's not like that at all. It's kind of just whatever you want to do. So it took me a while to like let go of the fact that this is not going to be artsy. This is just notes. This is just notes and facts that I want to keep track of. This is exactly just what I wanted. It's notes and reviews and tropes and summaries, and it is honestly like the best thing ever. I love this journal so much. It is my favorite thing and I'm so glad I started it, even though I hate that I started it like towards the end of 2021, but better late than never. I'm in love with it and I cannot wait to use it for the rest of the year. Since starting this journal, I now have like a bunch of other journals. I have a TV and movie journal, which let me know if you want me to do flip through on that. It's a very basic short journal. Like, I don't have a lot in that journal yet, but if you want me to show you guys what it is, let me know. I also have a life journal, which is actually like more spreads and like personal journal entries. And then I have another journal, which is called the Year in Growth Journal, and it is basically like prompts and questions every day for you to answer. It's a little bit more like interactive and something you have to do every day, which I wasn't sure I was going to like, but I do like it. Let me know if you want me to do another video on all of my other journals. Like maybe I'll do like a combined video about my TV and movie journal, my Year in Growth journal, and my life journal. I also do have a dream journal, but that one I don't really do that much. I feel like that one isn't really happening. Also, if you have any questions about my journals or just journaling in general, let me know down below and I will maybe answer them in my next journal related video. But let's finally get into the flip through, and I'm going to show you guys all of the entries and all of the supplies that I use. So this is my reading journal. It is from Indigo. It's by the brand Noda. And it has this little clasp here to hold the journal closed. And then there is a lovely little bookmark. Then I have my everyday pencil case. So this pretty much just has everything that I use in my journal every single time I do an entry. This just kind of has like the basics of what I need. And then I do have this pencil case here, which has more markers and just more colors. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the flip through. The first page is just this. I kind of did want to possibly do a better intro page, but I kind of got lazy. I don't know. So I just wrote reading journal and the month I started it, and then I wrote my name, which I'm covering my last name. Then we have the first entry, which I'm gonna kind of cover up just a little bit because I don't want to spoil you guys. So this entry here was the first entry I did, and I actually did this entry on camera in my first journal video. So if you want to see me do it, you can go watch that video. Also, one thing I don't love about this journal is the button here, because it does make it hard to write kind of on a flat surface. So that is the only thing I don't like about this journal. I really wanted to mention that because it has bothered me over the course of using this journal, but other than that, I love it. I love the like soft cover and how easy it is to write in it. But anyways, back to this entry here. I wanted to just document the title, the author, the date, my star rating, and the format. And then I wanted to document all of the tropes for each book and a quick little summary and then a review and my thoughts. So this was how it first looked. This is getting more and more difficult because I don't want to spoil you guys. But this was, again, the first entry, and I didn't end up liking the way this looked, so for the next entry, I changed it. This is kind of where it started to finally have a little bit more cohesiveness, and I actually started to figure out exactly the layout of what I wanted it to be. And as you can see, for the first entry, I like barely wrote anything, and then this one, I started writing more. So I wrote out the title, the author, the star rating, the date, and then the format. That has always kind of stayed the same, but I then moved it at the top of the page, and I was still kind of playing around how I wanted to do the star rating, like where I wanted to put it and all of that. And then I decided to actually write out like tropes, summary, review, and I just thought it looked cleaner and I liked the way it was a little bit more structured. So that is what I started doing. This was part of a series, so I documented that it was a series. I ended up changing the star rating to be more towards the like corner of the page. And again, didn't write that much for this one. And then I played around with the star rating and just the setup of the page. I was just playing around with it. Like I said, I wanted to figure out the way I wanted to do it and how it would look. So I immediately did not like this. I thought it was a mistake, but then this, again, I was trying to play around with how big I wanted to do the star rating. And here is actually where I changed it up a little bit. So this was my first physical book that I read while starting my journal, and I didn't know how I wanted to document it being a physical copy. So I first started out with I own it. I was kind of playing around with, did I want to say it was a paperback or hardcover or like a physical copy? I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with that. So I started out with I own it because I thought that would be a little bit more different. But this is the first entry where I actually wrote everything. So I had like more pages than just the one. Sorry, there's lots of spoilers on this page. I am so sorry if I spoil you on books, guys. I'm so sorry. This was the first entry where it became clear to me that I wanted to write more than just a review and my thoughts. I wanted to actually write down things that happened in the book. For me, I like to have the book set up like this, where it's like 2 pages. So the reason why for this page I left this one blank is because I didn't want to start the next book on this page, because I like having them side by side. So this one is just empty. Then we continued, and as you can see, like, this was an arc, so I wrote that it was an arc, and then my star rating was just at the bottom, which I don't really like how this looks, but not much I can do about it. Then we keep going, and I kind of figured out my formula, and as things went along, I realized I loved the look of it, and I just kept doing that. So, and Indigo Ridge is actually one of the longest entries that I have. It covered 4 pages instead of 3 or 2, so it was definitely my longest entry. And then we get into the wrap-up page. This is something I didn't know I wanted to do, and I just kind of decided to do it. But first I want to go into all of the supplies that I use, so like how I do everything. Let's go here. This one doesn't have that many spoilers. I'm sorry if this flip through is really messy, but I've never done a journal flip through before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going along with it. But I wanted to show you guys what I used for each entry, like the pens, stuff like that. I always correspond the color of the page with the book cover. So Collided by Lauren Asher has a blue cover, and at the time, I first started out with the S-Note pens from Sharpie. These ones don't really bleed through. I really liked them. I didn't know what kind of pens I wanted to use at first, so this was kind of what I started with, and I liked them. They were good. I do find that they kind of faded a little bit, which is weird considering they're like a Sharpie, but I did think that they faded a little bit. I just realized that I wanted more color options, so I did change the kind of pens that I use. But these are good if you're just starting out and you don't want to have like a huge collection of markers. These are good. They are pricier, but I did like them. I just found that they faded a little bit and there wasn't a huge color variety. And then the pen that I use for every single entry is just a Bic black pen. I love it. It is a round stick M. I don't know what that means, but I love this pen. I have like a whole bag of them. So that was kind of what I was using at first. And then we get to Rigs, this entry, which started to change a little bit. I decided to make the titles a little bit more opaque and I wanted them to stand out a little bit. So I decided to not use pen here anymore. I started to use a Papermate Flare Ultra Fine. I want to say it's a 0.3, but I can't fully remember. But this is the one that I use for the like author series date and format. And then I just continue to use the black pen. So this is where I kind of started changing that. I do like the look. I think it makes it stand out a little bit more. I'll show you in a minute the other markers I started using after, but this was my first wrap-up page. So this is the page that wrapped up everything I read in October. I had first started using a color because I thought I wanted to correspond the month in a color, and I realized I didn't like that. So I then did whiteout for all of that, which I hate the way that this looks, but there was not much I could do about it. And then for this, I just used my Papermate pen, which I wanted it to be a lot more thicker, but I didn't have a black marker. So that was why I just used this. And then here I just documented how many books I read, how many physical books, how many ebooks, and then I had one arc. And then I just wrote down all of the titles that I read in the month, and I wrote down the title, the author, the format, the genre and subgenre, and my star rating. I used the same marker that matched the cover and that matched the initial spread or entry, and I really love how this page turned out. I'm really glad that I started to do wrap-up pages because I think it's so fun, and it's nice to kind of just have a breakdown of what I read and the format and the subgenre and the star rating. I just think it's a very quick and easy look at what I read through the month. I also have up here the number of books that I have been reading throughout the year, if that makes sense. So like this was book 100 to 110. I feel like this is also going to be super helpful when it comes to me wrapping up everything I read throughout the year and having a clear number on the page so that I don't have to go through everything and like calculate, oh, I read 11 books in October and then 12 in November and calculate all that. I can just have it on the page. That way it's easy to see. So this is like the first wrap-up page that I did. And then we continue, we just move on to the next month. There is no like separate page for the month, but we keep going. And then we keep going. This is where I started using different markers. Up here also, it was a reread. And I believe this is one of the first paperbacks that I read. So I did include that it was a paperback. And then here I wrote second read, and I wrote the date on when I first read the book. So the markers I now use are the Crayola Super Tips. I love these markers. They do not bleed through. There are so many color options. I am just obsessed. I can now finally like perfectly match the book cover and the spread. Like I said, the Sharpie S notes were great at first, but I realized I wanted more color. I wanted more options. And so I started using these markers, and I really love them, and I think they're great. They're also super cheap, so if you don't want to spend a lot of money on the Sharpies, you can buy these. These honestly are better in my opinion. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'm just going to kind of flip through the journal some more to show you guys. And yeah, like for example, Grayson's Vow, I wrote a lot for. I almost like needed another page. I just started like writing a lot. And then we get to another wrap-up page. This wrap-up page I love. It is so much prettier and better. So for the title, I finally had a black marker. Like I said, I bought the Crayola Super Tips, so I used that for the title. And then I used my Papermate Flare in medium to write out this part right here and the book number here, and then I continued to correspond the book cover and the pens, and then I just used the ultra fine one to continue to write all of that stuff. And I like how this turned out. Again, I had extra space here, but that's okay. It doesn't really bother me. I love doing these wrap-up pages. I just think they're so nice, and it's just so clear to see like what I read throughout the month and all of that. Also, if I had more like facts to put here, I could just continue it on this page and move this up higher or more in the corner, and I would just continue obviously my wrap up on this page. And then obviously we keep going. This was the only book I read in December, and I had like a lot of notes for it. This was my biggest entry, honestly. I had a lot of notes for it, and because it was the only book I read in December, I didn't do a wrap-up page for December. It just felt like a waste of paper if I just did one page that documented the one book. So I didn't do a wrap-up page for December. We just kind of continued on, and I did a reading wrap-up for the year. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with this page, but I wanted to document my reading. So I wrote out all the books I read, the physical books, the ebooks, my rereads, the pages read, my average star rating. And then I went through each month and I wrote how many books I read in that month, how many physical books, how many ebooks, and then I wrote out the star rating. And I actually really loved the way that this turned out. I just did some colors that I thought matched each month. There wasn't really no theme to it, but I love the way this turned out. I kind of screwed up down here. I thought I had room to include September, and then I realized I didn't. So I did white out on that. Also, because I didn't start this journal at the beginning of the year in 2021, I started it back in September. So I actually just had to go through like my Goodreads to get all of these stats and information. But next time, when I do my 2022 reading wrap up, I will just be able to flip through my journal and gather all of these stats. And then obviously I just continued on this side. At first I had left this page empty, and then I decided I just wanted to include some other stats and information. So I just wrote down like page length, how many books I read that were published in 2021 and like older titles, and how many like genres and subgenres that I read. And that was kind of it. And then we get into my favorite page of my entire journal, and that is my favorite books of 2021 spread. I decided to just print off pictures of like my top 12, although there is 15 on here. It's just because I consider like this trilogy like one, and then this duology like one. But these were my favorite books of the year, so I just printed out all of the pictures, and then I wrote the titles at the top, the author on the side, and then I did the star rating. And it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. My only complaint about this page is I wish I would have separated them a little bit more so that I could have them a little bit lower, but other than that, I love this page. It is my favorite thing I have ever done. I love it. It's so nice. And then we get on to like my first pages for 2022. So here, I don't want to spoil this because I might make a video on this, but this is the books I want to read in 2022 and like the series I want to start. And then on this side, I have series to catch up on or finish in 2022. Like I said, I might make a video about this, so I don't really want to spoil the books that I have on here. I'll just give you guys one. So we have like the Elements series by Brittany Cherry. And then on this side, I have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco that I need to read. This is like the only TBR page that I have in this journal, and this is supposed to be for like the whole year. So this is not like a monthly TBR, this is a whole year TBR. So that's why I felt okay including this in here. It's definitely a little bit more doable for me, so I'd rather do a yearly TBR than a monthly TBR. That's why I don't do monthly TBRs in here. And then we get on to the first book I read in 2022. The thing I am a little disappointed by with this journal is that I didn't do a title page for 2022. I wish that before I did these two pages, I would have done a title page for 2022. I know it's not really a big deal, but I would have liked to include that in here, and I just didn't. So it's definitely something I want to do in my next journal, is like try to separate it a little bit more, like from what I read in 2021 and then like the start of a new year, because obviously I'm not starting a new journal for 2022. I'm continuing the same journal, so I wish I would have done a title page, but that's okay. That's pretty much it for my entire journal. I feel like I'm missing some things that I wanted to say, but that's pretty much it. This is what my journal is. I love it. It is the best thing I have ever done, and I'm so glad I can start 2022 off with my reading journal, and I can document the entire year. I'm very excited for that. Yeah, if you have any questions about my journal, please leave them down below and I will definitely answer them. I'm sorry if this video was all over the place. I had to figure out a new angle. I have to be like really close to my mic because I feel like you're not going to be able to hear me, so I'm sorry if this video is not perfect, but I hope you guys enjoyed this flip through of my journal. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.